What's up, everyone, and welcome back to the Den Dialogues. I'm your host, Ryan Martin, and today's guest is Ashley Hesseltine. I'm laughing because I start this podcast out calling her Christina. Yeah, Christina. You'll see why. But we were talking about Tom and Christina right before we got on air. Anyway, I'll let you watch it and see. It's super embarrassing. And then another little piece of bad news about this podcast is that we lost the video file right after shooting it. Somehow it went to the trash can and we couldn't retrieve it. We went to Micro Center. Long story short, they could not get it back. Good news is it was literally, I think, one of the best conversations I've had while doing this podcast. And we have the audio file, which was what we're going to show you today. Ashley and I are sitting here and we have a picture of that, and then we're just going to play the audio. So I'm sorry, Ashley, we don't have the video. I appreciate you coming out here and sitting down in person with me to get that. But we did get a great podcast in. And viewers, I think you'll really enjoy it. We talk about her upcoming tour, which kicked off here at the Den, Sex Before Marriage. It's going on right now. She's got tons of tour dates. You can find those at ashhess.com, ashhess.com. There's a link below as well. And please check her out live. She's an awesome stand-up comedian. She's also an entrepreneur. She's got a sex toy company called Vibes Only, and they have some really cool, unique products. We'll leave a link down below for that as well. And we talk about it in the podcast. And of course, we cover her podcast, Girls Gotta Eat, with her good friend, Raina, and we get all into that. So all in all, just a super great conversation. And I really hope you enjoy it. Please like and subscribe if you like what we're doing and how we're trying to improve. And without further ado, please enjoy Ashley Hesseltine. Are we good? Yep. Christina Hesseltine. Did I say your name right? Oh my gosh.
Well, my name's Ashley.
Oh, Christina. Oh my God. That is so hilarious. We're keeping this in.
That's my cousin.
We're keeping this in. Oh my God. Wow. What a way to start, right? I apologize.
You knew my name. Did you say my name when I walked in?
What did I say? Ashley. But you know what?
But I just said Tom Segura. You made me think. I think you did Christina. I think you did a weird thing.
Thank you. You know how awesome that is that you put those dots together? That's crazy. Even amidst like you're like, oh wow, Christina. Yes, because you said Tom, so my brain. Oh my gosh. Well,
but Christina Hesseltine is my cousin, so there is one
I don't know your cousin. Gosh, Ashley. So, you know what I was focused on too? Okay. I was like, I have watched a few podcasts where they screw up her last name, and I am not going to do that. You're like,
I'll just do the first name.
It's
actually never happened.
Has it not? Well, I'm happy. I'm happy to be the first. Oh my God. Oh, yeah. I'm such an idiot.
But you got Hesseltine right, which is the tough one.
Is the tough one. How is that? Is that annoying to you?
It's really not, because people read it Hesseltine or Hesseltine, and they can't get out of their head of, I have friends that still say Hesseltine, and I have a friend that I run, we ran a show together in LA. He's a really funny comedian, Andrew Collin, and he will still bring me on stage as Hesseltine. He can't I'm like, we're like best friends. Like, we're good friends, So it's fine. Call me whatever.
You should threaten the relationship. You should be like, okay, I've given you enough leeway.
I do feel like that.
Like sometimes you gotta, maybe it's because you're so nice about it that
I think it's better to be like, whatever. Who really cares?
Because you can't control it.
But I do feel like if someone messes it up, and then I have people in the audience who know me, they're like, it's Hesseltine. They're feeling disrespected.
They are too, right?
I don't mind.
But no, it honestly would look bad on not bad, but like I know if we introduced you at the Den, like the Den Theater, and we're like, Ashley Hesseltine.
Christina Hesseltine.
Yeah, Christina, that would be even worse. No, but no idiot would do that. Never. That would be they couldn't
top
be
level.
That dumb. Yeah, that's
blunder.
That's a massive mess up. So thank you for coming on this.
Of course.
And taking your time to do this. Awesome that we have, so you're at the Den Theater tonight, and it's great. We were just talking before we came on how cool. It's great that you've got your shows are totally sold out, right?
Yeah.
So it's
it's nice to chill.
Isn't it?
It's nice to be like, I don't need
push.
to, and I'm just, people in the DMs are like, are there tickets? And I'm like, not my problem.
Yeah.
We're on sale.
Yeah.
And
We do have, we're going to put some standby tickets
Okay.
out. So hopefully,
Okay.
because there's always,
People
for
who
whatever
don't show.
reason, there's always no shows. I can't stand no shows.
I know.
It's getting worse and worse too.
Is it?
Yeah. It's like people buy tickets like months in advance.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're just like, and then, it's always, you can't, no refunds, right? Because
Yeah.
otherwise it would be a disaster
Yeah.
if people were, but it's like, then they just, if their plans change, they won't tell you and they don't come. And it could be, we've had, in a worst case, we've had like up to 80.
What?
Like it's usually weather or something, and the
Yeah.
further out, if it's like we put it on sale 8 months out or something, then it's, I mean, can you imagine feeling like you've got a sold out show and then there's like swaths of empty seats?
We deal with that where it's even bigger numbers with Girls Gotta Eat. We do huge theater shows, and then there's like people have resold. So it's tough because I think people sometimes grab those front row seats and then they're on some reseller, and so that people don't buy, and then those are empty. We hate seeing that like in the front. We're like, our
Right.
fans should have gotten these tickets, and but yeah, it's pretty crazy. Like we will be doing a sold out show and we're about to start, and it's like, we have 80% in. I don't know what to tell you. It's like weather or whatever. So I guess it's interesting that you say it's getting worse.
A little bit.
I can't imagine.
Yeah, it goes through ebbs and flows.
Yeah.
It's like it's just like it's like the mood of society at that point. It's like COVID, like right after COVID, people were super hungry to get out.
Oh my
and
gosh.
You had like
2021. Oh my God. We've never had a better year.
Yeah,
for touring.
totally. So
Yeah.
it was, so with Girls Got, I was looking at that going, oh my God, you guys have done some major tour, like 200 some odd live shows, right? I mean,
Yeah. All
that's
over
pretty
the world.
amazing.
Yeah. So
And how did that like go from, how did you get to the point from putting the podcast out or starting the podcast to like knowing that, okay, we got to tour this? I mean, it just happened naturally, or?
yeah, when it was my idea to start the podcast, and I wanted it to be our career. I wanted it to be touring. I saw big things for it, and I knew we would do something live and be. I'd already been doing stand up, so I was like already a performer, and I wanted to incorporate that into it. I wouldn't say. I think we're on the early side of podcasting. I mean, 7 years, and some acts were touring, but they weren't having a show like we would eventually end up doing. I think we did something like very new and cool and different. But we started the podcast in February, and we were thinking about it. We were like, what? Okay, it's really growing.
You and Raina.
Raina and I. And we were like, it's really growing. It's probably time to start doing a live show. She'd never set foot on a stage before. So she's like, you take charge of this,
Okay.
And we got a call from WME, and that was our touring agent. We were like, we can't believe we're on the phone with, Andrew Russell at WME, and he was
awesome.
just like, let's do a live show at Caroline's in New York. He had a deal memo by the end of the day, and at that point in 2018,
Andrew's smart.
like, he's the best.
He's smart.
Because you're like, how do he's this huge agent. Why us?
Yeah.
He like sees something. I don't know. He's brilliant.
Yeah, he's got really good ideas. He's done a few done a few moves here that have just really done really well, really succeeded. And I'm like, oh wow, that was smart. I wouldn't have thought of that.
Yeah, and I'm lucky to have him as my agent too, like by way of the podcast.
Yeah. Oh,
And,
that's so awesome.
So, yeah, and it was just, we couldn't imagine selling out Caroline's, that was just such a big deal to me as a stand-up comedian. So that was our first show in September 2018 at Caroline's, 300 people were like, we can't believe it, and then eventually we would go on to sell out the Chicago theater. It was just a really cool thing. So
That's so exciting.
but this is about me today.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Yeah. No. Wherever you want to go, Christina. Sorry. Just kidding. No.
But no, it's cool. And to Andrew, we planned this tour, my tour, together, obviously, and it was just like we really planned it to start it here at the Den. So I did this before in 2022. I did this theater, and I again did 3 shows here, and it was like the most important date that we could get, and then it worked out that we could kick it off here. So I've just been like jokingly saying it's all downhill from here. No, I'm very excited, but it's like it's really truly one of the best theaters.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I love seeing people record their specials here.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, so
no, it's awesome to hear, and I just say, like, sometimes I have to pinch myself. I'm like, holy shit, like, how are we getting so many good performers? Like, and they just keep coming, and like, selling out shows like you are, like, and it's like, I'm just like, all right, we're at this, like, let's just, how do we keep it going? But yeah, so you're starting the tour, or this kicks off the tour, and then how long is the tour? How long are you?
I have tour dates through end of September, and then my goal is to shoot a special in October, and then I get married on November 1st. So it's really a lot going on right now.
And this is the Sex Before Marriage tour.
This is the Sex Before Marriage tour, yes. I feel really proud of the name. The original name I had in my head was Fiancé, spelled like Beyonce, like the Fiancé tour. And I was like, I don't know. It's a little... I know people get it, but I ran it by a bunch. Andrew Collin, for example, I ran it by a bunch of people. Okay. And then one day I was just like, Sex Before Marriage. Let's have the tour poster say sex on it. Who cares, So we'll do that. And then, I'll consummate the marriage on November 1st.
Nice. But it all ties in, right?
It all ties in.
It's ties into the podcast.
Yeah,
and
ties into the material.
Everything.
Yeah. And I just feel really excited and proud of the material. Mm-hmm. It's really kind of a full through line of my relationship and being single and that journey, and now getting married when I didn't really think that I wanted to, and living with somebody and not wanting children, and just all of that. And then, my relationship with him and being older for a bride. I'm 41 now, and so I'll be 42 when I get married. So there's a whole piece of that in the material, and it's been so fun. I mean, I'm a big fan of storytelling comedians, and I'm also, I love comedians that do joke punchline. I think there's so many different styles, but I really wanted to make this feel like a story, and you come along on the journey. And so it's been interesting because I've been doing stand-up for 10 years, and I have jokes that I really put a lot of time and effort into from the past that just like don't fit. Like this isn't like all my best, greatest hits that I can just put together, which is what I've done when I toured previously. And what you do, you take these bits, you figure out how to transition them, but this has to be like kind of specific.
The big highlight ones that have always worked. You weave them in, but you're saying this is like brand new material, kind of.
Yeah, there's some I was able to work in, but and. I mean, brand new pretty much in the last 2 years is all this, I would say. I would kind of say this is also, I moved to LA in January 2023, and this is all kind of fresh since then. Mm-hmm. There's one story at the end that it's my favorite thing. One of my favorite things I do on stage, and I've had that for years, and it's like really important to me. It's about my family, and so that's in there, and if you see me, you've probably heard. If you were here last time, you've heard it. Sorry, but it's just that's really the only thing, and then it's all the rest of it's pretty new and fresh.
But I think it's so cool just knowing your work a little bit, not like a crazy amounts like some of your fans but for people that like you've. Sorry, I'm not explaining this well, but you've created this. You're obviously like an entrepreneur. You've got like a writing background. You're tying it, your stand-up, it seems like you started before like all of this, right? Like before the podcast. So you have that like through line. This is like what you were starting out to do. And just like, I'm looking forward to seeing it this weekend because it's like tying all those new experiences into, because from what I know, you and Raina, it's all about like, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but it's like, relationships, sex stuff, all those things. And I'm sure and then you're newly engaged, right? You're about to be married. So it's like tying all that in LA, like all these new things. I think that's what people want to see, right? Like all of the stuff that you've been like going through, and then you can share your, weave the comedy in and make us laugh.
Yeah. Thanks for saying that. That's the goal. It really is like the full story. I had there's a few people, not a few, there's probably a lot of people, listeners, fans of ours that have been there since, the first show at Caroline's, and have like come to every show, and they support me solo too and everything that we do. And I saw some of them I was in New York last night running the material, and I saw them, and it made me so emotional. Like I've seen them in the audience at every show. I don't know how many shows we've done in New York, 7, 8, and my solo shows, and I don't know. They've just been on people like that have been there since like day one, and we're like single and crazy and telling all these crazy dating stories, and they're still here, 7 years later, and they both message me after the show. It's like a girl and a guy that always like, they're like besties. They always come, and they were just like, we love the material. Like, don't change a thing. And it means a lot. Like people like that really make me so like grateful. It's such an honor to, I don't know. They get to like watch our growth in this way. And I don't know. For something
that was the takeaway that I got with like, just doing a little bit of research before this and just trying to watch, some of your stuff, and all of it. I'm like, wow, this is like a journey. The people are like on board. They're like, you're so, and it all ties together really well, which is, I think, something that like you seem to be, like cognizant of enough, which I think a lot of like artists aren't necessarily like as aware of like all of the pieces and how to work with them and be open about sharing them. I mean, you're pretty open about, it seems like, about a lot of your journey, which is really cool. It makes you want to like get behind it and and then if you can get everything out of it as an audience member, if you can laugh, if you can genuinely be entertained by your comedy, and then also like have these other avenues in your life that you're being affected by your whatever relationship advice, and just your friendship with Raina, I think is really cool. That's like really that special dynamic.
Yeah. Well, it's just, I don't know. I mean, I'm curious, even, not that I expect you to name your favorite comedians and your least favorite, but in terms of what type of comedy you see at all, being here. And I just think there's comedians that really storytell and you feel like you know them. And then there's ones that are really hilariously funny and observational, and you don't really feel like you know them as people, and that's okay. They make you laugh. I don't know. And then there's some people that kind of bridge that gap, but I've always kind of wanted the former. Like, I think
the storytelling.
I just think people want to feel like they know you, and that makes them want to support you more, and all of that. I mean, it's parasocial, but it's still.
I think you're right. There's something about that. There's. I mean, I appreciate all forms. Like, I definitely can recognize there's some people that are like one line or a few words, and they can make you laugh. It's like the punchlines are coming fast and furious.
Yeah.
But I appreciate the story and the craft of that, and I think that's and it is. I think it's something like deeply ingrained in us as humans too, about just like storytelling, and getting immersed and taken away. If somebody can take you away in a story, I've always loved that. Like somebody just kind of like pulling me into that way that they use their words and their everything, and make me laugh that way. I love it,
Yeah, and then, I don't know, as a comedian, you want to hear laughs the whole time. And then sometimes you have to remind yourself, like, people are listening for a second. And it's fine. There's not a punchline or a tag, but you're like, some people are really listening to what you have to say. I mean, I know one comedian, and I think he's so funny and brilliant. And I just remember one critique of his special, I think, one time that was like, it's too many jokes. Like, it's so, you were like exhausted by the jokes.
So you have to, your brain's got to keep up.
And you're tired. But I've even had friends tell me, like, it's okay if sometimes people are just like listening. You can have parts in your hour that are not filled with jokes and punchlines and tags. It can be that like, this is part of a story. People can be quietly paying attention, waiting for the next thing. And I think that's like a good note that I've had to tell myself too. Because as a comedian, you're like, where's the...
You need that affirmation sometimes.
So.
But can you feel... I mean, I'm sure you can feel it when you're when you've got them, like the string is kind of like
100%. Yeah.
taut.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
And they're focused. They're
100%.
in.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that on stage when you can feel like the weight of the room. You can feel their eyes on you. You can feel everything, and you know it's good. It's the worst if it's the opposite, which I'm sure you've had those experiences too.
We all have. Oh my God. Yeah. A bad show that'll take you out for a little bit.
Yeah. So how? Not to. I want to keep it on your comedy a lot here.
It's fine. Whatever we
But
want.
okay. Well, yeah. So I mean, how did you and Raina meet? Like, how did that? I mean, you said you had kind of a vision for. You were already thinking about this. The Girls Gotta Eat.
Yeah, I lived in Atlanta. That's actually where I started comedy.
Okay.
And when I was in Atlanta, I was blogging. I was doing the Instagram influencer thing. I had this big account that had blown up. It was like a comedy account, and that's kind of what I was focused on. And I was also doing stand-up, but not grinding it out. It wasn't like...
That was Instagram... It was like a vlog, or was it?
I had an Instagram account. It's still around. It's called Bros Being Basic, and it was just like a parody account. And at its height, it had almost 1 million followers, and that was like what I was kind of doing, working with brands, like early days, Wild West influence. I'm 2014, and where it was just brands didn't really know what they were doing, and we didn't really know what we were doing. People were making money. It was really a fun time.
Yeah.
And it's all different now.
Yeah. How did you? I don't want to take you off course here,
whatever.
but like, how did you? Like, that's unique in itself. There are some people that just didn't even realize how big it was going to become. Like, how did you get on that so early?
I think it was just a good idea. I mean, my career trajectory, which I think has kind of followed, like the cultural influencer, blogging sphere was. I was a writer, then a blogger. I mean, same thing, but started my own thing into being an influencer, not myself, but this account that I created, and then a podcaster, and then in all of that also doing stand-up. But it's just kind of like that's kind of the way I've pivoted my career. And now, of course, also Raina and I have a sexual wellness company that we started called Vibes Only, and so there's that too. So now we're, we own a tech company essentially. So, because there's a tech component, but that's kind of been my trajectory. So I wrote a blog entry, what if guys acted like girls on Instagram? And this was like 2014. It was kind of when the word basic became a thing. Like that, we say that now, like
so
it's
basic.
But it hasn't really been around. Like that was kind of those are the BuzzFeed days, it was very like a different time on the internet. And I created this account, and it was my guy friends in Atlanta were kind of, playfully mocking the basic stuff that women do on Instagram. Like 11 years ago, and it just took off overnight. It was pretty crazy. It was just, that was a fun time when it was there weren't that many accounts like that. I mean, there was the Fat Jewish and Fuck Jerry, and I think Betches was probably still around, or was around, but not much else, not much of that like meme, funny content. So it just exploded, and BuzzFeed wrote an article, and they were like the 7th most read site on the internet in the world at that time, and it was everywhere, and it really took off. And that was just a really fun time. And I worked with a lot of fun brands and created content. And then, I could feel it starting to slow down a little bit. I could feel that it just like wasn't quite the same as it was. And
becoming saturated, and
way more accounts, some less brand deals, and but I mean 2-3 years later, and that's when I moved to New York in 2017, and I had done some TV and radio stuff in Atlanta. I really liked being on camera, and I liked talking into a mic, and I was doing comedy, and so I just felt like podcasting was the next thing. And obviously 2017, we weren't the first podcast. I mean, podcasts had been around, but in terms of, there certainly weren't.
But becoming almost like TV in and of itself. Like a podcast is sort of just like it's that's not a good way to describe it, but it's just so mainstream. It's just so normal now.
Yeah.
And I think that it probably will be for a long time.
Yeah,
it's
hopefully.
like hopefully, right? You never know. Wow, things change fast in this world, right?
So that was kind of it. And
So that was like the spark of like you were kind of sensing the ebbs and flows.
Sorry,
and
then you asked about Raina. So
Yeah.
I knew that was like what I wanted to do, and now we're like in 2017, and I talk about this tarot card reading I did in June of 2017, and I knew I wanted to do a podcast, but I didn't know who I wanted to do it with, and I remember doing this tarot reading with my friend Kelly, and she laid out all these cards. She's amazing. She laid out all these cards of like all the pieces of my career and how they were going to go, and I mean, I could play the recording. She predicted it exactly. She said, this Bros Being Basic is going to kind of fall by the wayside. I had a merch business at that time. Like those things were just kind of be on the back burner. I forget the other parts, but basically she was like, the podcast is the thing. Make sure you do this. And I get really emotional talking about this. She was like, I see you on stage performing big crowds, but not necessarily with your stand-up, which she like saw the podcast kind of touring. I mean, it just was wild. I mean, she just predicted the future. So
did you know her?
She's a longtime friend.
Okay,
and
longtime friend that was doing.
Yeah, she has a business in Atlanta called Modern Mystic. It's a shop. It's in Pont City Market, and she's just, she has some psychic abilities, and she's just like this incredible tarot reader that was able to like predict my future. And I went on this.
You should go back to her now. And
I always, we talked about, she kind of predicted my relationship. No, it's always,
oh my God.
She's on point.
You
all
have
the time.
your very own like fortune teller.
Yes.
Like, that's awesome. Oh
I was just talking to her on the way in the car on the way here. Yeah. And so I had that in the back of my head, and then I went on an influencer trip to the Aruba Marriott in October of that year. And I was going through a rough time with kind of a breakup situation. I was like, I don't know if I want to go on this trip, but I was like, I need to get away. And so I went to Aruba, and that's where I met Raina on this trip. And so it was a small trip. They had 5 influencers. She was a food blogger at the time, food Instagram influencer. And the 5 people, we were all from New York. We all really got along. And it was pretty much mostly women. And the first night we kind of stayed up late talking about dating and relationships. And I could just feel that she was like my kind of girl. She was super open about her dating life and her sex life. And she was just another single woman running around New York City and trying to figure it out, doing the same thing as me in that Instagram world, but what's next,
Yeah.
And that's when, shortly thereafter, I was like, would you ever want to start a podcast? And she was like, yeah, totally. I actually just like went on my friend's podcast, and I was thinking that this would be cool. And I was like, okay, but that's great. Are you open about your life? People think they will be, and then they're like, oh, my dad will listen to this, or oh, I have a corporate job.
Sure.
Not everybody can just talk about their sex life on a microphone. And she was, sure enough, was like, she was definitely the person to do it with.
She's like down to it. I mean, you guys have this great chemistry, but I mean, she's definitely willing to. I mean, you guys have different lives in the way that you lead them, and in everything, your relationships too.
Yeah.
So it's so great, and she's willing to go like and you kind of bring it back a little bit. You're like, yeah, that's awesome, but
she's wild. I mean, the stuff that comes out of her mouth.
Yeah.
Like, I think we both have our own. I think we mesh obviously so well, perfectly together, our chemistry.
Yeah.
But it's like, I don't know if our listeners would probably think I veer into more of a storytelling, and Raina's like this one-liner. You never know what's coming. And obviously we both do both. But yeah, we started this podcast not really knowing each other. So we became friends on the show. I mean, we were friends, but we didn't. I find it really interesting the way people start podcasts if they're already friends, best friends, even childhood friends, as opposed to people who start it as a business and become friends through it.
Oh yeah,
because we're best friends now. We're family. I mean, she spends holidays with my family, and she's officiating my wedding. Where we didn't go into this as close friends.
I wonder if that's kind of a benefit.
I think we think so.
Yeah,
and
like that your relationship developed after the business relationships to some extent, or simultaneous. I don't know.
Really. And then also we didn't know each other's stories, so
you're learning as you go.
Like we're telling each other these stories on the podcast to the listeners where, so many of those stories, like my best friends would have known, my college friends, my childhood friends. So
that's cool. Really good, I once, when I started the Den, there was this really great actress that I'd been in a play with. This is back in 2010 when we were doing theater. And you just had a long history in Chicago theater, much more than I. And it was really important that, so she brought her name to the table within Chicago. And that's why I was like, I no one's going to come if you're not a part of this, but we've been a play together and we got along so well. And it was like, do you want to co-direct this play with me? So that's what was interesting about it is we knew we got along, but like we were able to, I think what it did, which reminds me of what you're talking about, was our preconceived notions kind of like fell away. We weren't like she didn't have a whole lot of directing. I think this is the point. Neither she nor I had a lot of directing experience. We were both like actors. Her much more experienced than I, but it was that enabled us to both not come to the table thinking we knew everything. It was both like, hey, what do you think? Yeah, I want to do this. This makes sense to me. What do you think? Kind of thing. And I love that dynamic. And if you if one person had, like, let's say Raina had a podcast for a few years before, or you had, maybe do you think that I don't know, maybe that would have been harder, or if you'd had a relationship beforehand where you knew each other?
Yeah. I think there's a lot of, I have various feelings about luck versus hard work and right place, right time, and the universe and all that kind of thing. And I think we worked really hard. Yeah. We got to this place that it really fell into place for us in our careers. But like the luck of it all is how well we work together in business. I mean, that's just difficult with anybody. Yeah. And how people work and divide responsibility and play to their strengths. I don't know. We figured it out. We were able to, I learned how to edit a podcast, and she took on more of like kind of, I mean, she's always kind of worked, once we started booking guests, she kind of took on that responsibility and just various, like she set up our website and our email, things like that. We just were able to so easily divide and conquer. And that's the luck of it all. 'Cause people would enter into a business relationship, with someone they don't know that well, and it could really
I've heard
not
stories.
work.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. So a lot of times,
there's egos involved, and so
total egos are the worst, right?
Yeah,
it's like we all have to fight that.
And then the performing. I mean, it's just like I was the comedian, I was the performer, and she wasn't. I was like, you mean you've never been in like a talent show? You've never been on a stage. Like we were backstage at Caroline's. Our agent was like, what is about to happen? Like here he is with this girl who's never set foot on a stage. And like that first show, I mean, she came out of the gate and just crushed. I mean, we were like, okay,
she is boisterous and fun. Yeah. And like, I mean, you guys both are having I think that's what's so contagious about it is like, you guys are like just having the best time, and your laughs are like real, I mean, you just like, and it puts you in a good, it makes you feel good. You're just like, I just want to laugh.
Thanks. I think people need that now. And, it's really an honor to like bring joy to someone's day and like help them get through stuff. I mean, the messages we get like are unbelievable. And the people you helped me through, I mean, the death of a parent or a divorce, or I mean, just we get these emails and these messages that are like hard to even comprehend that we're like able to do that. And that's comedy too. I think with everything happening in the world, I was like, I don't even, to go on a tour now, I mean, who knows what's the state of what's going to happen. And with this country and people's money and everything. Totally. And I was like, all I want to do is like make people laugh. I think that when you're at a comedy show that's, going well and people are laughing, there's this real sense of community, and you can kind of forget the outside world. And I kind of realized that early on in this year, doing shows around LA, like this is all I want to do. Yeah. This is what I want to throw my time and energy into.
Totally. It's one of the most important things. It's like, no matter how messed up things get, right? Like it's a survival mechanism for us to be able to look at it and somehow make some kind of it's like the only control we have. If you get down to really tough times, it's like, well, you still have the control over like, can you laugh at something like this? Just even in a careful way with some things, like, but almost anything you can.
Yeah. Yeah. It's it's comedy is an escape, and hopefully if you're going to see someone you can trust, it should feel like a safe space like in that room. And so
Yeah. How did the subject matter kind of come about? I know a lot of times it's just you guys being, having fun and doing a little bit of comedy, but it is also, how did it get into the relationship? And
that was the original plan. I knew I wanted to do a podcast about dating and relationships.
Okay.
I had been through a pretty volatile relationship, and I just learned a lot about relationships. I learned a lot about myself, and I just kind of became obsessed with the subject matter. And who doesn't want to tell dating stories, relationships,
Yeah.
And so that was what I came into it wanting to do. And Raina had this food background, so I was like, also we could tie in food, and that shortly, went by the wayside, which we still love to eat. Our first photo shoot was like with a bunch of food in this hotel room in Williamsburg, and so
I could see it.
was
I could
part
see
of
it. You're eating ice cream and talking about
had pizza always. I asked you guys to get me some pizza tonight in the green room. It's always we love. It's a part of the brand, but I went into it kind of how can we take her expertise and what she's known for, and it ended up obviously being a comedy podcast about dating and relationships and sex. But from day one, we really wanted every episode to have a topic and have a reason for people to listen and have it be pretty clear. And there are lots of podcasts out there where the hosts are just shooting the shit, and that's fine, and it's no judgment. But we just didn't want to do that.
Right.
We wanted it to be like, why would I tune into this? The first episode is called "It Goes Down in the DMs." I don't even know what we said on that, but it's like that was so hot, like DMing, and obviously it's not like it was the beginning of Instagram, but I think that was attractive to people. I mean, we did probably 10 or 12 episodes just us, and then we started to bring in guests, and we really, we'll do a little more chaotic episodes these days where we have some listener emails, and especially we have comedians on, we shoot the shit a little bit more. But we've been doing this a long time. We can still guide the conversation in a certain way. We can still kind of pull a theme out of it, but we still very much go into these episodes and planning around guests with why would someone listen to this? And that's really how we approach, and I myself and also Raina, of course, approach really everything we do is why would someone want this? And if people ever ask me,
it's such a great question to ask.
Yeah, and starting a podcast or starting a business, it's like sometimes you're too close to, I love this thing, I want to do this thing, and it's like, okay, but you have to have a consumer, and why would someone tune into this? Why would someone purchase this? So we approach that with our sex toy company as well, but just anything, you see a lot of people start businesses, and you're like, who's the customer here?
Yeah.
Or podcast even,
Right.
So
no, absolutely. And sometimes it works, but I think a lot of people start businesses like that too, or it's just a passion project, but they're not specific. So it's like the specifics can help. I think what do I know? But like the only thing about getting too specific early on is like I think there is a danger in pigeonholing yourself to something that. Maybe the idea is great. Maybe you do think like, yeah, people would want to see this, and you can logic that, but you do have to be passionate about it. So if you don't have the passion with whatever it is, and you're just doing it because you think someone else wants to see it, then it's not going to fuel you either. You're probably not going to succeed.
Right, and people feel
either.
that. I think people just want authenticity now and always, but more than ever, and they can feel that coming through. And we're in a world where people want to be influencers. I mean, that's a crazy thing. When I fell into that, I think that word didn't even really exist, but it
was it was looked down upon.
Yeah. But now people want it. This is like kids in college or like, I want to be an influencer.
Yeah. It's totally changed in the last, like 7 years or something, where it's now acceptable. Like parents even will look at it and go, okay, well, yeah, if you want to go after that, like the odds that you succeed at that now and actually make money are way different than they were when you were starting. Like in 2014, it was like, you might hit the lottery, but
Right. And so people are like, what should, I think they're trying to find something to hone in on or copying what someone else does. It's like, you just have to do what you're good at, passionate about, or just won't work. I think people can kind of see right through that.
Yeah.
So, and then to your point about the specificity of I think that's interesting too, because like someone might be like, I want to start a podcast about something so specific, and then you're like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's a tight, like a small demo. You know, you better hope you get
totally.
all of those people onto your, I don't know, 80s horror movie podcast.
Totally.
You know, I literally don't know if that exists, but when it's very specific, which I love,
Yeah.
I love deep dives. I mean, there was Sex in the City podcast. I love like just about one thing. You just have to hope you find those people who are fans of that thing.
Yeah. And I mean, it's such a big world and we have access to it now. So the odds are that, you know, if you're the best in that area or one of the best, like, you got a good shot.
Like one crime case, you know, like one thing where it's just like people, you have that.
Right. One specific kind of crime.
Yeah.
I mean, things are just going to get more and more like zoned in.
Yeah.
So how does the podcast is like, you could be touring that at any given time, probably. Like, how do you guys decide like, should we tour the podcast, or I'm going to do my stand-up tour? How do you work it out with just even the regular podcast? When you go home, do you shoot remotely? Like
we record in LA mostly. I mean, we'll do virtual if we need to. I mean, but we have a pretty structured schedule. You know, I was thinking about this recently. I was watching something and some big podcaster was like, I have to record my pod, and it was like Sunday night or something, and it felt very like that there's really no schedule or something like that, which is also fine. I was like, I can't imagine that. You know, we're pretty structured. Like we record on Tuesdays, we record our Thursday episode on Tuesday, and then our intro for the following week, and then we stack a bunch of guest interviews when we can. So we kind of do this like Monday, Tuesday, sometimes Wednesday recording schedule, and we'll jam a bunch of stuff in, but Tuesday's like our main day, and we know that, and we plan travel around that. And we, in the summers, you know, we'll fuck off for a little bit and vacation. We'll take some weeks off. If we have to do virtual, we will. Rain and I Zoomed last summer a few times. So, but it is pretty structured, and Raina manages all the guest booking, and she's so wonderful at that, and kind of.
Oh, she does that. So
yeah,
like
and she has help, but she's kind of that. She's always kind of done that. She's a really great talent for it and getting the right people and all of that.
Do you guys talk about it and like to decide like, okay, we have these options like this? And
but it's very much her world, and my world is the editing part of it. And again, we have editors, but I oversee that. So, and she has help too, and we have our assistant. So it's like she's very much guest. I'm very much like finished product of the podcast.
Right.
So we're pretty structured on the recording, and you know, we'll go to Newark, we'll record with people in New York or wherever we may be. And then the touring, I mean, we toured for years. I mean, we toured for 6 years, and we had been everywhere multiple times. You know, we got the show to this high level of debauchery. You know, we were like, what else could we even do? You know, we have like strippers and drum lines and cryojets and t-shirt cannons. Like, it was just wild. And so we decided to take a break for a little bit and just take a break, you know? And it wasn't like we're taking a break because Ashley wants to tour. Like, I would do both. You know, it was more just like, okay, we are taking a break. We decided that as a company, you know, and then I was like, okay, this is the right time for me to tour and focus on this. And so those decisions were sort of made, I guess, in tandem. And we are looking at doing holiday shows at the end of this year. Like we've done that since year one. Always done a holiday show in New York, and we've started to add in some other places. We've done Chicago. We have done the Chicago Theater. We did Talia Hall many years ago. And
Talia Hall's great.
It's so great. We did that was like one of our first big theaters. We were like, can we sell this? And our agent was like, in Chicago you can. Like Chicago's just like that. Boston and Chicago are like those markets.
Are those are really big for you guys?
Yeah, Chicago's our biggest.
Oh wow.
I mean, I think the Chicago Theater is the biggest theater that we've done.
Yeah.
I mean,
is it awesome there? I mean, is it just like
it's unbelievable
to be on stage there? Wow.
Like, I remember Raina, the first year, 2021, hot year for everything, just ticket sales, all the things. That was when we did it. It sold out really early. We were like, what the fuck? You know, and I was not feeling well. Like, I don't, it might have been COVID. Who's to say, you know, but I was like not that well. And so Raina came to the theater first and she was like, wait till you get here. You're going to have such a moment, like walking on stage. And I was just like so out of it. And I just remember walking on that stage and being like, this is a crazy moment to have, you know, even then I did that show. It's just like not fully there, but I pulled it out of somewhere, you know, the adrenaline will get you through, but,
yeah, I'd imagine. And then like the energy of all the people there and being on that stage and everything.
And it wasn't COVID. I just want to be clear. People get sensitive about it, you know, like
there was an outbreak that night. We don't know where it came from.
People are like, oh my God, there's a Reddit thread. Ashley had COVID in Chicago. I got COVID at that show. She gave it to me. So no, but yeah, those moments are really, really special.
Yeah. Well, maybe, you know, maybe with your stand-up tour, you'll end up at the Chicago Theater
no,
at
only
the end.
10.
All right. I love it.
I'll do 10 shows here.
We have, it's, you know, we're still, I know we keep an eye on time. We got about 10 minutes or so. Thank you again for sitting down and hanging with me for a little bit. Yeah. This has been fun. But yeah, we have had a few people that, you know, that have come through that are, you know, that then go on and do the Chicago theater. And it's because we're still relatively new with comedy. You know, it's like 2019 or 19
really?
is when we started dabbling in it. And then it was like when after COVID, we were like full in. We're like this room, because we have 5 theaters in this building, smaller theaters. And this, the room you're in is our biggest. And that, we dedicated that to comedy right after COVID. So,
it is? Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's 100% dedicated to comedy now. But yeah, we've had a few people, and it is always like bittersweet. You're just like, you're like, oh, that's awesome that they were here at the Den, but now they're at the Chicago Theater. But it's like, I really wish they were here. Yeah. You know,
I'll be back at least personally. But it's such a great room. I mean, I was just watching Giulio Gallerati, who filmed his special here, and it looks so great. And so I know you guys do a lot of specials here.
Thanks. Yeah, we do quite a bit. Yeah, it's fun. It's always an honor when somebody wants to do that. Again, it's like one of those things. I'm just like, I hope we can keep this going. You know, I mean, pretty soon people are going to be like, it's not that great.
No, it's so great.
We'll see what you say after this weekend. Hopefully we're still good.
Oh, totally. Yeah. I can't wait.
But you brought the audiences, and that's part of what makes comedy or live performances so special. It's like the audiences together, packed in. You know, I like that for, you know, I'm sure some people don't, that are like claustrophobic or whatever, but but I love a room that's like every seat's filled, and every audience member can see every other audience member, and the performer can connect with everyone. Our stage is a little wrapped around, so it's like
it's like a stadium. It's a little mini stadium in there.
Yeah, a little bit.
Big stage, like you guys do wireless mics, which like I don't know if we're still doing that.
It's up to you. Yeah, okay. I mean we do it when it's requested, so we can.
Because I did it. That was probably the only wireless mic I had on my last tour. It'll probably be the only one on this tour. You know, most clubs are do a wired mic, obviously, but I felt so free. Yeah, I was running around that stage.
I love that you run around the stage.
Yeah, I was like, I'm doing squats up here, like I'm doing burpees. I was like,
so great.
Stupid clip I posted, but I was like, you feel really free. Because I'm not so physical, but I move around and, you know, I'll do some things, and it's just, you got that chord, and you got, it has to be a part of what you're thinking about. Yeah. This is not a hot take, you know, but, and I'm sure some comedians are like, I don't notice the chord. And I'm like, I do. I don't know. It's in the way.
If that's your preference, you should request it at every place. Because I'm sure everybody has the capability. If they don't have one, they should go get one. I mean, it only makes their theater more valuable. Right?
Yeah. But sometimes on a tiny stage, they're like, seriously, you can't move, you know, regardless. But and then sometimes it's a audio issue, whatever it is. You guys are able to really make it no different.
Yeah, it can be, the quality can be a little, like, it can sound a little different if you're not, you know, whatever EQing it right, or but yeah, for the most part, I think ours is decent.
That's great.
But yeah, we'll do. I'll make sure, and I don't know if we requested it this time. I'm glad you brought it up. I'm gonna make sure that I'm gonna go down and make sure that we have a wireless mic.
Like,
do you have batteries
right
for that wireless mic? Watch the batteries go out on you. You're like,
myself.
Talking about how great that stage was. Well, the batteries went out on the wireless mic. No.
No, I did some like show in the back of like a surf shop not long ago in LA in Manhattan Beach, and like the mic just kept fucking up, and then finally I was like, I'm not using the mic, and it was kind of a fun thing.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that.
No, let's not have that happen tonight.
Like hands free. I don't know. It wasn't bad.
Is that what you had to do? Like
It was a small room.
Yeah.
Also, like sometimes you'll do shows, you're like, we don't even need a mic.
We don't even.
It almost feels like too much.
Yeah.
And those small little like bar shows, whatever, great. Like you love that. I have one in LA that they let me work out whatever I want. It's so fun, but it's also one of those things of like, I could just talk,
I know you could, but I feel like that's part of the magic of stand-up.
100%,
you know what I mean? Like just having
when you're like,
a mic, it would be weird if you were mic'd with one of the, because you could, I mean, why not have a little like, little thing or one of those things? Like, I like the just,
totally.
It's like.
Yeah, I've seen that. I don't know. Who did, I think it might have been like Matt Rife. I think he did a special with the lapel.
Oh yeah,
thing.
somebody did.
I don't know.
I mean, sometimes
have to,
people do it when it's more like a show kind of thing, and there's a lot of physicality.
It's just giving like TED Talk energy.
Yeah,
like
totally.
I don't know. It doesn't. Yeah. If that's what makes you comfortable, like Britney Spears style, like just do it. But it's like, I think it doesn't feel as much like comedy. But sometimes maybe that's someone's goal.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, totally. Well, we're basically out of time. You got somewhere else to be. I would love. I feel like I've got a bunch of other questions, but we'll talk another time.
You have one more you want to throw out?
Well, actually, okay, yeah. If you give me one more, okay. I did want to talk to you about like Vibes Only. So like, this is like a sex toy company, right? And you said earlier it's like a tech company too. Mm-hmm. So where do you see that going in the future? I mean, and what is it now exactly, and how did that come about?
So it's a sexual wellness company. We sell sex toys and accoutrement. We actually have a suck and blow gel. It's an oral enhancer that crushes. We just love how horny everyone is for that.
Wait. It's like
flavored.
It's a suck and blow.
Yeah, it's like to use during oral sex, and
do you just
they're
like
flavored.
Spray it on? Or?
Yeah, it's just a squirt. You just need like a couple drops, but we have all these different flavors. So we do seasonal flavors and holiday flavors, and people go crazy for it. So, but yes, we sell really incredible, high quality vibrators and sex toys and every type you could imagine. The packaging super high end. Everything's just like very high end and really nice. And they all are Bluetooth connected to our app. And so within the app, there is erotic audio that you can actually connect to your vibrator so it pulses along with the cadence of the story.
Oh my God. I heard some one, and like, I don't know, it was just like on the way over here, I was listening to a podcast of yours and you guys like played it. I think you were on like Ari Shafir or something, or was that?
Maybe,
was that?
Yeah. We went on Ari's podcast a lot right when we started the
I don't know. I just pulled up YouTube. I was like, YouTube, Ashley Hesseltine,
so funny,
podcast, and that one came up, and like I just hit it, and it was like some guy like I forwarded through, I like zoomed through, and like I literally landed on a spot where it was like some guy, he was like playing some guy like with this sexy voice, and it was sexy.
It's hot, the audio is really
he had like
hot.
an accent of some sort.
Yeah,
I mean, it was
all
like
kinds
I was
of voices
like,
in there.
Whoa.
It's nice, and then they're voiced in second person, so they're like talking to you, like you're immersed in the story. But also in the app, there's stuff that nobody else is doing. I mean, there's a battery estimator, so your vibrator never dies on you mid-session. There's a long distance.
How do you even think of that?
It's just, I think every woman knows that moment where
it takes you out of the moment,
your vibrator dies
like,
when you're getting close. You're like, this is a true nightmare. This is a horror movie. And then there's a long distance component, so someone can control your vibrator from wherever in the world. And there's just a lot of fun stuff within the app, but you don't need the app for the toys. So some people, buy our products and they don't fuck with the app. We hope that you do, but you can do, obviously both together is the best experience, but the toys are just like the best. I would never use, we test others, but ours are the best. Like I would
Yeah.
never use other, like they're so soft. The silicone
How do you
is
get
so
them like
soft.
that? Was that just a standard that you were like, as a business
we just
person,
have
you're
really
like,
high
we want
standards.
really
Like-
high quality, and so you went out to like people that make them or the manufacturers, and you're like,
Yeah, when we
need the best.
we design them all. We pour the molds ourselves, not ourselves, but they're all very.
You
you're
and
not gonna
Raina
see
in
them
there.
anywhere. Yeah, Raina and I are making sex toys in my basement.
I'd like to see a behind the scenes.
Yeah. And we just have really, we've seen it all, and we know what we'd like from other companies and what we don't like. Obviously, before years ago, we knew those things. That's what made us want to do our own and
Yeah.
just make them like the best, what we would want. And we're very picky. I mean, we'll kind of get samples and be like, not soft enough, not squishy enough, not hard enough, not thick enough. Those kind of things.
Yeah.
So we're pretty particular, and we really are proud of the products. And yeah, vibesonly.com.
Do people vibesonly.com? I was just going to ask. So they can also probably access that through your website too, and all.
Yeah, it links from Girls Gotta Eat, and it's very funny because we went on The View, and like they were like, you can't. We went on The View to talk about like our last tour. This is I think in 2023, and they were like, you can't talk about Vibes Only. We were like, okay, sure, say less. It's morning TV. Of course we're not going to bring it up. And then they brought it up. I think like one of the maybe it was Joy. Someone brought it up, and so we're having this live moment on TV where we're like, are we allowed
What
to?
are we supposed to? You told us not to.
And then Joy's like, is it bigger than a bread box? They're asking like, so you guys have this side company, and then we're like, what? And so we were
They
like,
couldn't help
we were
themselves.
told not to. We can't talk about this, and so we didn't know what to do. So we were like, if you go to girlsgottaeat.com, it will link from there.
Nice.
And we got so much traffic that day. 2 Vibes Only
Oh
from Girls Gotta
my
Eat. We
gosh.
saw where it came from,
Yeah.
which was The View. Like we were like all these horny women watching The View.
That's so great. That's so great. But see, this is the thing that I think is so great about what you do is like, it really is. I mean, I'm just like, it's fun. Like, I just had a lot of fun just talking about that aspect. Like, I'm so glad you're like, oh, one more question, because it's like, I could see talking about, like, there's certain things that I think we all kind of like enjoy talking about and that we don't get to a lot of the time. And when it's normalized and you're not like a super weird person or anything, like, not that should
I'm only
matter.
sorta weird.
Not that should matter, but like, it's
Yeah.
like, if you just like, you're successful, you're like, a great comedian, you got this great podcast, and you're just like, and now you created this business with sex toys, where it's like, I don't know, it normalizes something that should have been normalized probably for a long time,
Yeah.
and I think that's cool and it's fun and everybody really wants. So I'm not surprised like that you guys got a lot like morning news. Everybody's like, boop, 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 boop. Like,
Yeah, we were like, are they baiting us? Like they asked. It was a funny moment, but thank you for saying all that. Yeah, I mean that's
awesome.
the thing. Like I don't know. Rain and I always say we're just like normal girls. We're just like basic ass bitches. Yes, we do all this stuff. We have these companies. We're not your average person, I guess, but we're
Yeah.
also just like
yeah.
we like everything everyone
Yeah.
else likes. We're just like normal girls.
Would you consider yourself, now that you've had so many conversations with so many people about like relationships and sexuality, like, do you consider yourself an expert?
For sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like we have had 7 years of education in this. This is not to take anything away from people who have degrees and those credentials, but we have interviewed all of the thought leaders in this space. We have such a wealth of information. We've read all the books. We've heard all the personal stories. And I think we're able to really bring a lot of nuance to the conversation because we've really seen it all. I think
Yeah.
sometimes people in a very specific area, and this is not to take anything away from them, like can't see past their specific education in something where I think what I think and what we hear too is that we really are able to talk about all aspects of sex, relationship, and dating with that nuance and with that human experience, and everyone's different. And I think especially in a world where you see so many TikTok influencers, TikTok therapists, really offering this very black and white information that's just kind of designed to go viral and sound a certain way. it doesn't really apply to everyone. And I think that's what we're really good at is being like, everyone's different.
Yeah.
And, you know, here's our experience. Here's what these experts say. Here's what we think. Here's what our listeners are experiencing,
Right.
and kind of tie all that together so people feel normal, don't feel alone, and still feel like they're getting expert advice.
Right, right. And that's part of the key is like, you know, for people to open up and actually, you know, make moves in that realm to help improve their quality of life. Like they need to feel like they're not weird.
Yeah.
You know,
100%.
or like, so it's like if they know that everybody's different, I think if that's a big thing that you're, you know, that it's like, it's all good.
Yeah. So
What would you say to, all right, one last little question. Well, it's not little. I should probably save this for later.
Okay.
Yeah, I was going to ask if, you know, I have kids, you know, what, and this is not a question for me, but like, what would, like someone that has kids, you know, they've been married for a long time, like what should they do what's a small little step that would be good to take to spice up the relationship?
Vibes only.
Vibes only. There you have it.
Get our new cock ring. That'll spice things up. It's called the Bond Band. I can't recommend it enough. Get the suck and blow gel, the lube. That's literally it. Just hit the website.
I think
shop
my
around.
wife would divorce me if I was like, if I went straight there. This is bad advice, Ashley.
Send her the link. Yeah. And, you know, I think we like to validate how hard it is to be in a long-term relationship, a marriage in the first place, and then kids on top of it. And so I think I always say, I don't need to tell you this, but I think it's so important to remember that relationships ebb and flow and they have seasons. And if it's a dry spell in your relationship, don't freak out. You know, that doesn't mean this is the new normal. It could be, but you know, everything kind of has ups and downs, and especially when you bring kids into the mix. And I think setting aside date nights is like so important. And
I think I'll start with that. Date nights.
One a week. See if you can do it. Yeah.
It's so, right? It's like the simplest thing, but
yeah. And then I think, you know, always seeing what your partner needs, especially when it comes to being turned on, being in the mood. We talk about a lot of like different people's. We've talked recently with on an episode with Shan Boudram, who's a sexologist, about chore play and like how like your partner doing things around the house can, you know, lead to you feeling more turned on and little things like that. We always talk about like I
never understood that, but I think that is my wife's like literally like if you just do
the
like
dishes,
fill the dishwasher.
Yeah. And how's the room look? I mean, is there clothes everywhere? The laundry been put away? All these things really, especially take women out of it. And so just things like that, knowing what your partner needs, knowing those non-sexual turn-ons they may have, like doing the dishes, things like that. So.
Well, Ashley, thank you so much for talking. Literally all the stuff that I was able to spend time watching on your podcast. I saw Tom and Christina, which, you know, how we started this podcast. It was like so enjoyable and fun. And your tour is kicking off here, and it's going to be awesome. I hope everybody checks you out because you're a great comedian, and
thank you. That means a lot.
Yeah, all the best with everything, and let's have some great shows this weekend.
Yes, thanks for having me. I'm so happy to be here, and I love doing this podcast on this incredible set. This is prepping me for tonight with the replica of the stage, so I just love all the things. So thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Ashley.
Yeah.